is 7:01. I will call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance.
So it shows up.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Casey Jack? Here. Oh, sorry, Gonzalez. How are you doing? You're both here. Gonzalez. Monzo?
Here.
Pelletier here. Puzo? Here. Swanson?
Here.
All right. So, first thing, yeah, no, keeping on your toes. First thing is swearing in of the new trustees. So, we have a few. Okay. Everyone but me. Okay, so Carlotta.
Do I go up there? Oh.
Yeah, I think that we can move your chair and you can go on a
Oh, okay,
stand.
Perfect. Here, let's do this. Yeah, it's official. So you're going to, do you want to like get the flag shot? We get
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to repeat after me.
My director.
I, Carlotta Gonzalez,
I, Carlotta Gonzalez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
of the Village of Morton Grove,
of the Village of Morton Grove,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
of the duties of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right.
You want to
Carlotta,
sign it?
you will have to sign it. Someone sworn, so I don't necessarily, it's June 15th. Thank you, Carlotta. One down. Okay, Eric. Okay, who will repeat after me? I, Eric Monzon,
I, Eric Monson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
of the Village of Morton Grove,
of the Village of Morton Grove,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
of the duties of the office of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
to the best of my
to the
ability.
best of my ability.
Thank you, Eric. And there's this. Thank you. Joanne, please repeat after me. I, Joanne Pelletier,
I, Joanne Pelletier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
of the Village of Morton Grove,
of the Village of Morton Grove,
and that I will faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
all the duties
all the duties
of the Office of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
of the Office of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Trying to make it so it's a little easier to repeat.
Seriously.
Thank you, Joanne. Lionel. Please repeat after me. I, Lionel Puzo, do solemnly swear
Swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
of the Village of Morton Grove,
of the Village of Morton Grove,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Okay, good. Good to hear. And Nick.
All right.
I, Nick Swanson,
I, Nick Swanson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules, regulations, and ordinances
the rules and regulations and ordinances
of the Village of Morton Grove,
of the Village of Morton Grove,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
of Morton Grove Public Library Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nick. Nick's in Nicky. He's like, I got it.
That's teach me.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks.
It's official, baby. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Will
you.
you sign that last one? Oh, sorry. Yes, yes. You got a nice little system. All right. Okay. Next up, we have approval of minutes for the regular board meeting. Here, I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting, May 9th, 2019. Any questions, comments, corrections?
All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 9th, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, public comments, agenda items only. All right. President report, I actually do have something. First, I represented the library at the Memorial Day parade and the little, there's always a Memorial Day parade, small little, starts with the American Legion. You walk over, there's a little service right in front of the library. I always go with my family, and this year I was proud to represent the library, and I think my name was butchered quite successfully. You know, but still there. I mean, you know, we serve as a backdrop for the Memorial Day Parade, the Veterans Day Parade. So I think it was great to have.
Yeah, we had never been asked to participate that way, so Emily has.
is the first time?
Yeah, so, and so Emily represented that. So, I mean, they always assumed that we would do the setup, but we were never asked to be there. Because technically the Doughboy is, that little square is not the libraries, it's the American Legion.
Yeah. But it's, I always go with my family. It's always so. So I was proud to do that. Second thing, and we can circle back to this too. I wanted to bring up the July board meeting date. I realized that I will not be able to attend. I'll be out of town. Since we're most likely hoping to appoint a new trustee, hopefully.
Well, I would be surprised if we would have that. It depends on how so quickly, we've got people lined up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if there's more than one person, if the board wants to do any interviewing of anyone.
Right.
I
So it
would-
might be more like August.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the 11th by your hearing yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We can, you know, and just as some context too, the last couple of years we have canceled the August board meeting. In this case, maybe we should.
Well, we canceled the August board meeting, it was typically because the past president, Stephanie, was always gone during August, and so it was a nice break because that's the only one that we do typically cancel.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think, I mean, and Pam, please, I don't necessarily think with it being in the heat of summer reading, that's necessarily the best meeting to cancel July. If you think differently.
That probably doesn't, I mean, all the summer reading stuff is already planned and that kind of thing, it's just programs that are happening, so it's really up to the board. I'm here all the time, so, and I don't have any trips planned in July or August, so it doesn't matter.
So maybe something, if we want to ponder for like
But yeah,
a
we
few
wanna
minutes, like
revisit.
if we want to revisit maybe either potentially canceling the one in July or moving, I don't, I feel bad having to move the meeting based on me, but just the context that we have canceled the August meeting.
The other thing to consider is that while you're one trustee down, have with the banquet position, and if Emily's not there, we're getting closer to the quorum limit. I mean, it's 4 people, but just if anything else should come up, it's just, so, and, but it's entirely up to the board.
Yeah, we do have to schedule the annual walkthrough too, so we can circle back to this, but I did want to bring it up for everybody, so, if you maybe want to think about what your schedules look like in July, then maybe we can circle back and kind of.
So we've typically canceled the one in August because people have been on vacations, Mick, but we don't usually cancel the December one because we're on a calendar fiscal year, and so there's a lot of things that we usually wrap up in December. So I know a lot of libraries will cancel the December one, but they might be on a different fiscal year, but because that ends ours, we tend to not cancel that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll kind of circle back to that, so, okay. So committee reports, finance.
I thought Jeff was supposed to.
He's gonna, yeah.
Okay.
I
Look at the first item in your
I see
business.
you.
Okay, finance. First up, I want to make a motion to approve the financial reports for May of 2019. Oh, okay. I think we-
Good, thank you.
And now we can rumble through these. Any questions on the cash statement? You'll notice that the bank is different.
Yes. Was the transition okay?
It was okay. It was not as smooth as we would have liked, and we were actually talking about this earlier. We did run into some issues with accessing the accounts initially, and then it took us a few days to talk to anyone at Fifth Third. That was difficult. And then people that had personal accounts at Fifth Third had trouble. If we got their library account straightened out, then it affected their personal account. And so, but we think we got that all straightened out. Right now, my next thing is the switching over of credit cards. All the department heads have credit cards. I have received a replacement credit card that doesn't have the correct limit on it. None of the other department heads have received one yet, so I need to call them and try to figure out what's going on with that. But we've got all the other account stuff figured out.
Okay.
Didn't quite go as smooth as
Sorry,
I
too,
wanted.
there's a headache with them.
And then next month, we'll probably do a thing to transfer that petty cash.
So the petty cash, you see that the balance is at $52.63. We normally like to keep about $2,000 in that account. And so our auditors have us pass a resolution whenever we transfer those funds, just so that there's a paper trail. So that's what Carlotta is referring to.
May report, does anybody have any questions on that?
It is. Just a little background for this as well, as the library does have an operating reserves account, which we keep in the event that tax monies don't come in. We haven't had that for several years in Cook County, but it has happened. Typically, advisors recommend anywhere from 3 to 6 months. We're a little bit low because of renovation a few years ago and stuff. So right now we've got about 1.5, 1.75 months. But I've got all of the money invested with the advice of our investment person that's at PMA in a number of CDs that mature at different times, so that it's kind of a rolling basis.
Mhm.
So that if I should have to get my hands on some of those funds, I would be able to do that relatively soon.
Okay.
What are we gonna do next? The income statement?
I have a question before you get there. On the revenues for line 10,720 for construction in progress.
That's expenditures.
Yep.
Okay.
I was wondering.
What is that from in the parentheses? Was that from the grant? Like, why is that in parentheses there?
We got refund of something, Blanche, why is that in parentheses? Construction in progress?
70/20.
Yes, that's why we got, we'll actually talk about this. The reason that's negative is, I believe I copied the check and the letter from CCS in your
That's what
packets.
that is, okay.
And we refunded it back into the budget lines, because those monies for that particular payment came out of two different budget lines. And so that's, one of them was that progress
Okay,
budget line, so that's why you see that as having more than
okay,
what we started with, or that we budgeted for originally.
got it, thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Let's see, the check register. Any questions on checks? Feel free to.
Yeah,
If you have any questions, because you see big amounts, small amounts, and there's one voided check.
Yes.
3485. That's because we paid it,
Double payment.
made a double payment on that, so she just reissued it.
And Overdrive's a database, correct?
Overdrive is the service that provides our, one of our downloadable media, e-books, e-audiobooks, so.
So now that we're in CCS, we're seeing little ones to Evanston Public Library, Glenview, Niles. Is that to purchase? I'm sorry, I'm on the check register.
Remember, that was the question I had, I sent the checks to Evanston.
Yeah.
And it
We've
was
actually always done that, you just may not have noticed.
Huh, really?
So that is, yeah, correct, Jeff? Where, if we got billed,
Yeah, I mean, we've done that before, especially for interlibrary loans, but
Right.
now as being in CCS, our ILS is shared amongst all 25
Right.
libraries.
So
So if
there's
one of
gonna
our
be-
patron pays a bill at their library, that's our money, they have to give us the money back, and we have to do the same for them if they pay a bill
Right.
here. So that's,
Usually.
you might see it more
Right.
often now, but for interlibrary loan, we were doing that previously. If a book was damaged by one of our patrons, we would have to pay the library.
Right.
So,
Yeah, okay.
but now it's just gonna be more frequent because
Okay, that makes sense.
And what do you guys use Cengage for? I'm just curious.
what, can I go to you?
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's,
that's
there's several, and we use them a lot at school, that's why I'm asking. Just curious how you use it.
That's anything associated with Gale databases, usually it's for databases or e-content.
Okay.
Yeah.
One right there. Right?
Yeah, I just saw 230,
Yeah.
492.
Yeah, usually it's for, it's for econ. That's usually, we're so used to seeing them. Yeah, I mean, some of this is probably gonna be familiar to you from the school as well, so. Oh my God, is it? I know I have one.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Nope, vote on the financial statements or reports, Mason Jack,
Yes.
Monzo,
Yes.
Montoya, yes, Kuzo,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Facilities, while we're scheduling a walkthrough a little bit later, nothing, well, policy committee didn't meet. All right, staff report, well, actually, do you want to do? do you wanna move on
We
to
can do
Jeff?
my report.
Okay.
Sure. I did send out an email asking if anyone wanted to participate in the parade. I did hear from Joanne and Emily. We actually have apparently paying time and a half. That encouraged a number of people. But we should have a nice turnout, and Jeff is gonna be there. He's gonna ride the book bike, and then we have 2 people that will carry the banner, and then we're getting some candy to hand out and stuff. And so we may see if any kids that are decorating their bikes want to ride their bike in the parade, but we'll see. We didn't advertise that in B&B, so we have to do some quick internal advertising. But we should have a nice turnout. We've got about 15 people.
Yeah.
So as to where they're t-shirts.
I think that would be a great way to get some kids doing it.
Yeah,
If
so-
they can
so we'll
decorate
see.
their bikes
So,
and then ride it in the parade.
Yeah.
And if they go, if they just want to walk it.
Or walk in the parade. So we'll see what kind of response we get.
Are they gonna do the little bags again?
No, we're not giving out the bags, we're just.
Still traumatized from last year. I was like, get off the street, you're gonna get hurt.
We went back and forth about participating just because there was so many other things going on and it was kind of last minute and quite frankly, I will be honest, it fell off my radar and because normally they send us information about it and they hadn't sent us anything. So then I was like, oh, I was thinking about it, oh my gosh, the parade, I haven't heard anything. And then Terry Kosar from the village actually contacted me and she was really hopeful that we would once again participate. And so she was one of the people that was really instrumental in us being co-grand marshals last year. So she's super excited that we're participating. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. But I think it'll be nice with everyone with their t-shirts and we're just, I have my wagon, we're gonna buy a bunch of candy and people can just kind of either throw it like at people's feet because you can do that. You're not supposed to just toss it into the crowd. Yeah. Though I think last year there was someone in front of us that was tossing candy off the back of a fire truck. But anyway, so yeah, we figured that would be easiest and we'll just, I'll pull the wagon about it.
You cannot, because there was a lawsuit.
Yeah, I know everywhere you're not supposed to do it, but what was I going to say? I forgot something associated with that, but it should be fine. Wow. So the parade participation, TCS refund, which I already talked about, and then the third thing that I want to talk about just briefly, or more not briefly, if you don't mind, is the logo. I did send to the trustees the link for the logo survey. We've analyzed all of those outlets, and staff is fairly strongly in favor of what was logo option 1, which was the top one here. There was a number of really thoughtful comments, and I'll just read a few of them. So some people said it reminded them of the columns outside of the front of the building. That was something easy. Some people said bookshelves or picture frames. Colors in the vertical really catches people's eyes. The name was more prominent.
Not the.
Yeah, so logo 1 is a contemporary and is a sleek geometric design. Doesn't overwhelm the text next to it. Some people had commented with our current one, the name can be, when you see it on letterhead, it's fine, but if the logo itself, with the name being on the bottom. Modern looks like floating books. I like the symbolism of doors or windows as an entry to new worlds or opportunities. People notice movement and open and connected spaces. Dimensions, open door, open windows. The rectangles give the shape of windows that was multi-dimensional. So, so people made some really thoughtful comments. Says, it definitely looks modern, contemporary. I feel like it looks like open doors, which is what we have. I think kids and adults will both like it. The symbolism of having our books represent windows or mirrors. We want people to learn more about themselves and more about people that are different from them. And the library is a place where different people of different interests and needs meet as a community. The rectangle shapes can represent many different things the library offers and represents, like books, screens, and doorways. It is very sleek and modern design while remaining open to interpretation and growth. Yeah, so we also had some good comments on logo 2. I think all of them were, I like them all. I could have gone with any of them, but the staff overwhelmingly kind of, supported the use of number 1 going forward.
Why are we choosing those colors?
We've actually started to use more of these muted tones in a lot of our branding efforts. So this actually mirrors what has already been going on for a while. If you look at all of the summer reading promotional stuff, they have taken very heavily from these colors already. And like I said, Karina and Bettina have already started to use a lot of these colors in our branding just over the past couple of years. And so this actually does mirror more closely what we're doing and everything else as well. So I thought what would be interesting for the board to see as well is a couple designs of potential business cards as well as letterhead, if you want to take a look at that. I think it really gives a strong representation too.
this is not gonna go on the, sign out front.
No, the logo, the sign out front, the new sign, is just the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they were gonna.
No, we
We're
could
stuck
have
with
done
it.
that, but, right, and we
Yeah.
could have done that, but it was a lot extra money to do,
Right.
even with our old one. And, you know, that same thought is that you're tied to that, or there it is on something that's, you know, $20,000 brick edifice.
Right.
We're getting a new big sign out in front of the library is what we're talking about it. So, I think, yeah, so the sign will just be.
I was just wondering if they were gonna do that, because, I mean, it's simple enough, but
Right.
you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Who worked up the logos?
Karina did, with input from Bettina, who was the graphics person in Youth Services. But Karina's degree is in art, and she's the one that does all of that, so. Yeah, so we think that's where we're going with that. I think it's really powerful to me. I mean, especially if I look at it in comparison, like I was looking at like the business cards and, you know, putting my current business card up against it. And the colors of our current stuff is very eye-catching, but one of the things that we were talking about as we were looking at the survey results was that the current logo, and actually all of our logos before this, have really kind of hit you over the head with, here's what you need to think about us. I mean, you know, our current one has words, you know, live, learn, and read kind of thing, and then there's a book. So one of our goals, as I said in the survey questions, was, you know, to open that up a little bit more and to show that the library is more than just books, and that, and we felt that that represented us in a variety of different ways: books, spines, windows, doors, pillars of the front of the building. Someone commented that it, you know, they interpreted that as well. So, great.
Thank you for sharing that.
So this will, so the rollout will be kind of in stages with this. The primary reason, well, we started thinking about the branding. Karina's been thinking about the branding for a while. But when we've been doing all the work for the new library website, and so this comes kind of the impetus in getting this done this summer because they needed some of the branding elements by July 1. So so Library Market is the firm that we're working with for the new website, and they will be doing a mock-up with some of our branding, so that will happen in July. The website is supposed to roll out in October. So we're probably gonna mention the new logo, or we'll roll out the new logo on Books and Beyond, I believe, and I have to get my months because they changed it just last year. The October, November Books and Beyond, even though people will get the Books and Beyond at the end of September, and the new website won't roll out till October 21st. But we'll say no watch for the new website. So that will be kind of the first phase of the new logo, and then looking towards next year, you know, rebranding like letterhead and people's name tags and business cards and that kind of thing. So we may do some internal things, like, you know, print up some business cards internally with the new logo, maybe later in the summer, something like that. But it'll be kind of phased in over the next 6 months or so.
Okay. All right.
I think that's it.
Any questions for Pam? Anything from corporate counsel? Or we
We can talk about that under the building,
Okay.
6200, because we have news on that.
Well, okay, then why don't we skip ahead to, is it reciprocal borrowing? Is that what we're talking about? Okay. Yeah.
So just a little background for, so reciprocal borrowers, for particularly maybe Mick, if you're not aware, these are, so we've joined CCS, that's a consortium of 25 other libraries, and so we all share the same patron database, the same catalog. A reciprocal borrower is someone that's from a library that's outside of that consortium. So for example, Skokie, or, you know, Mullers Park, or something like that. Skokie is the big one for us around here. So these are people that, they're not in the consortium, they're at what we call a standalone library. And so anyone that's outside of that CCS consortium is someone that we would consider a reciprocal borrower. And that right now, we have limits on the number of items that they can check out. And so one of the things that we're proposing is adjusting those limits. And Jeff the head of circulation, is, I think most everyone knows that, is here to talk a little bit more about our reasoning behind that and explain it a little bit more in detail. Do you want to sit at the table, Jeff?
Sure.
That'd be easier.
So right now, our limit for reciprocal borrowers is 25. Before, it was never a problem, we were standalone because our system, we were only had to worry about items checked out from our library, so it was easy to track. When somebody had only 25 items checked out or less, you either had 25 and you become blocked, or you could check out up to 25. Now that we're in the consortium, the system, one of its limitations is it does not allow this to only limit 25 items for our library. If so, whatever limit we have on items, it tracks all items within CCS. So since our area is kind of unique in that Niles, Skokie, us are all within a square mile of each other basically, people do go to different libraries in the area. So for instance, if someone had checked out 25 items in Niles, they're automatically blocked from checking out here. Because our limit is 25 items, it doesn't track only our items, it tracks all items that are checked out within CCS. So that right there is one of the limitations of only us allowing reciprocal borrowers to have 25 items. And so what that would cause too, at the circulation desk, since people a lot of times would check out the limit of 25, if they want to check out any more and they would return items, we would have to immediately check in those items for them to be even allowed to check out more items here. And while that
became problematic because we've changed the workflow a little bit, and so the two computers that are, at the circ desk, we're using only for checking out and not checking in, and we ran into a lot of problems where people were having to toggle between the check-in and check-out, and so now that activity we try to keep at either the back computer or in the tech services department.
Yeah, one of the reasons too is we were trying to cut down on errors of check-ins. We were trying to make sure every item was getting checked in properly, and I feel like we're moving that into the back, and so we can solely focus on checking in. I think we've reduced those errors dramatically. I don't feel like we get a lot of those phone calls anymore saying, hey, this item's still checked out to my account. So I feel like by us doing that, we've created better customer service for our patrons. And this kind of goes in line with wanting to raise the limit, is to also create better customer service for our patrons. Because sometimes a patron will drop their items out in the outside drop or in the other drop opposite from the circ desk where we can't always get it right away. They would try to check out on the self-checkout downstairs. The self-checkout would block them because they're at that 25 item limit. So they'd have to come upstairs, we'd have to run to one of the bins, check everything in right away, and then check them out. And like I said, it's become even more problematic because it counts everything that they've checked out in CCS. And since patrons do go to different libraries in this area frequently, it affects us more here than say other libraries where they're spread out and they're, maybe one person only goes to one library at a time. Here, people do go to Niles, Skokie, and us all the time. So like I said, that would be a reason for doing it. Also, I hate having to turn away kids from being able to check out materials. I mean, I want to give them as much opportunity as they can to check out what they want. I have a couple statistics too, if you guys want it.
So what we're suggesting, and it might not be in it's not, our current policy does list the reciprocal borrower limit. The suggested change removes that number, and we did that on purpose and said, look at the loans, renewals, fines, and services chart for for limits on checking out. So that should we change limits in the future, we wouldn't have to change the whole policy again. But what we're proposing is, if you look at the new table mock-up that I believe is in each of yours, and that's got my pencil scribbled all over it, is raising the limits for books, new books and magazines to 150 items, CDs, new audiobooks and audiobooks, 150 items, and then some raising the limits on DVDs and video games with some exceptions. And my apologies, this is in pencil. When Jeff and I were getting this all finalized for board prep, Karina was not here to make the table for me, so that's why you see my scribblings. So.
And the way we came up with the limits is I called CCS to check and see what RBP limits were for Evanston, Niles, Lakewood, and Des Plaines, and it ranged between 100 and 150. So that's where we kind of came up with that item limit with, like Pam was saying, some limitations on DVDs and video games.
Is this limit on a checkout period? Oh, we don't charge
It's per card.
Per card.
per card. So someone will come in and take out 150 books?
More than
How do they carry
likely,
them out?
yeah. More than likely, probably not. And I told Pam this before, when we were in Cersei in a standalone library, technically even Warren Grove residents could check out unlimited amounts of items, but technically the limit set in Cersei for back then was $199. No one ever even reached
Really?
that limit of $199. I've only seen it one time.
Yeah,
So-
so what we're trying to address mostly is if this puts us more in line with
Yeah.
surrounding CCS
Yeah.
libraries. But it also addresses those instances where someone has checked out 25 books, which is easy to do in the kids department.
Yes.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually where it occurs.
And that's usually what happens, so they've checked out those 25 books, they've dropped them off in either the outside book drop or the book drop that's not at CERC. Or they drop them off even at CERC, and now CERC has a procedure that they check items in every so often throughout the day, so we're trying to get that on a schedule. So that person goes downstairs and they grab another 25 books, or however many, and they come and they try to check them out, and most of the time, a lot of the children's CERC happens with the self-check. It won't let them do that, because those items that they just returned are not checked in yet.
Right.
So that's more likely to happen than someone carrying 150 items
Yeah.
out.
Okay, well, what I'm saying, okay, then why can't you just double it? Double the 20, make it 50 books? Because if you're turning in 25 and you're gonna, I get it's mostly kid books.
Yeah.
I mean, how often does this happen that someone checks out the limit at one time?
Like I said, it's more often for families with small children.
Okay.
But does it happen on a daily basis, once a week?
Then someone checks out 25 items?
No, and runs into their
I think
block.
it could easily happen.
It
Yeah.
happens pretty regularly.
I think I easily have 25 items at home.
You
You know,
have
read-
kids,
no,
I
no,
read
but she's
kids
saying-
you're there.
No,
With the
the
return-
blockage, does that
Yeah,
happen frequently?
and unfortunately, one of the days that it happens the most is Sundays, where we're only open 4 hours. And so I was telling Pam the other day, someone returned, I think it was over 100 Niles items, and they wanted to check out here. They were already blocked, so we had to check in the 100 Niles items as quickly as I could before they came up to check out with us. And it slows it down too, because now when we're checking in items from other CCS libraries, you have to put a transit label on every item. So it's not like we're just checking in 100 items by itself. You're checking in an item, have a write a transit label, checking in an item, have a writing transit label, because the mail delivery system requires that you put a transit label on every item. You can't like rubber band them or put them together and things like that, so.
So we're also trying to accommodate those people that maybe they haven't checked out 25 of our items,
That-
they've
and that's-
checked out 100 and
And that's what it is, it's more of that.
It's one of those things that because we're now in the consortium, we're having to look at that in a slightly different way than we were when we were standalone.
Like today, I have a regular patron who's a reciprocal borrower who checks out at Niles as well, and I think she has 30, this is where I kind of first noticed it, was this patron. She had 30 items checked out, but none of them were from us, and she went to check them out, and she was blocked. I'm like, wait, what's going on? You don't have anything checked out here, and that's when I called CCS and realized it counts everything in the CCS consortium.
So we wouldn't know that other than just being blocked out?
Yeah, but I was trying to check her out, so she's like, but I'm good, I haven't checked anything out here yet. I'm like,
Nothing
hey, you're
was
right, why are
overdue,
you?
she was in good standing,
Right,
and-
no,
but she
it-
was being blocked.
And so it's more of that too, because like I said, since the geographical location of all the libraries in this area, like CCS did a statistic where, I think it was 88% use one library, but for our area, we're at 12%. Because people do use, I can't tell you how many times people are like, I have staff that work at Niles too, at CERC. I just saw you at Niles 2 days ago, yeah, I work here too. So I mean, people do frequent all these libraries in this area.
Well, they do, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right about
Unique in
that.
that,
Yeah,
how
I mean, I
close
get that, it's just
Spoken
the
Niles
amount
and
is,
It would be very rare, I'm not gonna say that people won't do it, but it's more of the exception than the norm, I would say, from just what I've seen.
So the other thing to keep in mind too is that these are items that are sitting on the shelf.
Right, we want people to take them.
So, yeah, so I mean, we want the items to circulate, so it's not like we're taking something that a Warren Grove person has and giving it to, a school
right, no,
person
I
or something
understand
like
that, it
so.
just seems like a lot of books to,
Yeah, and like I said too,
I mean-
we did come up with this number to align ourselves more with the libraries in the area, like Evanston, Niles, and Lincoln, and Des Plaines. So that's kind of where we came up with those numbers as well, to kind of,
And I think it's ultimately trying to save you guys from having that headache of having to run in the back, put everything in really quick. And ultimately, and I think you guys have been doing a great job of being really thoughtful of what policies we can put into play that make the library more accessible for everybody. And ultimately, that's the goal. So, and ultimately, I think that's what you guys are trying to do with this one too. So it's almost just, I mean, you know, very rarely will someone be checking out 150 books, but it's just more, so you guys don't have to worry about running back and forth. On the odd occasion that,
Yeah.
whatever.
How do these people keep track of all these books? That's what I wanna know.
and then,
Yeah, I know.
Pam was saying
Checking
too.
out
I
25
work here
books
and I
for a
still
little
can't keep track of
kid.
the books I have checked
I mean,
out.
it's gotta be a job in itself for a parent to have to keep track of these 25 books for one of their kids.
Well, and that's also
75.
kind of where this would benefit the patron as well. Because right now, like you're saying, a patron may have 4 cards and check out, you know, like 20 books per card. Now they
Right.
only need 1 card and they can keep track of just that 1 card now rather
That
than.
is something that we've
Okay.
seen where
It would
people are
benefit.
trying to get around that, the limitations that we currently have in place by, okay, I've got 25 on this card, I've got 25 on this card, and then they've got like 4 or 5 different cards,
It's,
so.
yeah, you should see it at the circ test sometimes, because they'll be like, okay, I don't know how many I have checked on this card currently, but do as many as you can, and then all of a sudden they'll, here, try this card next.
Well, that's like.
And then it's like,
I'm trying to-
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. That's the way
So,
I
yeah.
like today.
It'd just be a lot
I'm
easier
the old person
too.
in the group
Yeah.
here.
So, we are asking the board to approve raising the item limits with the stipulated exceptions to the 150 items, and we cleaned up some of the other chart as well that will be making some adjustments.
So is it the policy or is it just more the limits?
Well,
Yeah, we changed the library card policy to reflect, to look at the loan fine policy, so
Right.
you're updating both, but if in the future, if we ever wanted to change this, we only have to change the loan fine limit policy.
it's a little unclear. I've looked back at, you know, at the policies historically, and the table is actually considered a policy. So it has historically been approved by the board in addition to the text part. So we call the whole thing the library card policy, basically, so even the chart. So basically you're just approving, if you move forward, that you'd be approving my suggested text changes as well as the changes to the limits.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
What is hotspots?
Those are little devices that you can travel with that give you access to, give you wireless access. They're Wi-Fi, yeah.
Very popular.
It's hard to get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you go on vacation, plan it a couple months out, put your name on the list.
And we have what, like 20?
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Especially in the summer, that's when the wait list goes up, because like you said, traveling, you like, I think. to
because
use
you
it
could be
in
driving
comments.
in the car and like you got kids and stuff like that, there you've got Wi-Fi then.
Well, I will make a motion to approve the library card policy.
You see with the changes that's presented.
Okay, with changes as presented.
Second.
Somebody second it?
Eric did.
Oh, Eric did.
Okay, Longo,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Kuzo? Yes. Swanson,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Now you go home now.
Yes, you. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
You too.
Thank you for moving that.
Of course. All right, so, well, Nick, unfinished business. Hopefully, you won't grow to, be too attached to the 6200 Lincoln Avenue building, but. Okay,
Go ahead.
So this morning, actually it was at lunch because Brian called me on my cell phone when I was coming back from lunch. The buyer appears to be pulling out of the deal. So he says he met with the village and The village supposedly told them that they won't schedule a hearing until August, and they'll want a village engineer to do a traffic study before granting their application. The buyer has also said, the village said they won't cooperate with some tax reduction initiatives that he wants to do.
Was the village cooperating on any point?
The village actually has been cooperating, and I really think, and I told this to Brian, I said, I'm pretty frustrated with the buyer at this point. I mean, we've had to jump through some hoops with the village. However, the village had been very, very forthcoming with me saying that they did not see any issue with the special use permit, but he needed to apply and he had to go through the process. This buyer hasn't even gone through the process. So,
He's freaking out about the taxes because he has no clue what they're gonna be since we're exempt.
so I don't know whatever the reason is, but that could very well be part of it, but Brian, our broker, has indicated, he says usually if he says something, because, in his experience, the buyer's looking for a reason to get out of it. So, I spoke with him on the phone. He followed up with an email to both me and Frank. Frank Tennant is our attorney, and so Frank had responded and said thanks for the update. The buyer was to have filed the special use application with the village by May 22nd. Here's the other thing, is that the buyer had the calendar all along. He knew the village's schedule, he knew exactly when he had to file by. The library had provided the portions of the stuff that we needed to. There was a letter and some other things we had to provide as owner. Ralph Chewinski had given me every indication that there would not be an issue with this, but he hasn't done anything. So basically,
He hasn't even applied for the
No.
special?
no. So, as Frank said, the buyer was to have filed the special use application with the village by May 22nd, and apparently he has not yet filed. His lawyer just called, this is from Frank, the buyer's lawyer just called to let me know that the buyer could not go through with the contract, had to hire experts, which he did not expect. The village will not agree to a 7C tax issue. I don't know exactly what that is, but, and then Frank said, I told him to send me a letter stating why the contract should be canceled, and he'll send it when he receives it. So Frank had not received that at this point. Brian was really upset. I was calmer, because he called me later on and then said, thank you for kind of talking me down. Our poor broker has been trying to sell this building for a while. But then I received a call from Brian late this afternoon. He's put the property back to active. He showed it already to someone else who has indicated that he'll be submitting a cash offer for $305,000. I think it's less than what we were doing before, but either tomorrow or Monday. So Brian has told him, he said, we've had a couple of deals fall through. I want to see if you actually have this cash. And so the buyer had said, no problem. Brian also has a few showings already scheduled for next week. So.
Does he lose his escrow? The buyer that's under contract right now?
Use the contingency, he'll get his money back.
Yeah, he'll get his money back as the contingency. So his escrow was not huge, so I'll have to talk to Frank about
Yeah, but
that.
our attorney's bills are getting kind of huge.
Yeah, they were $1,500. We haven't had any attorney's bills for a while, so.
And
I think kind of average it
he's
out.
only charged title and he's gonna charge the seller's fee. I mean, the attorney fees are gonna be.
Yeah, so it was a little frustrating, but, yeah. So anyway, fingers crossed.
What did you know if this new?
Where are we selling it to this guy again? I don't know.
335, I think is where we ended up at, but, the new buyer apparently wants to use it for residential. But Brian told him about the sprinklers, and he said, no problem. He told him about the parking, he said, I can deal with that.
Everyone says that.
So we'll see.
Everyone said that.
The further along you go.
So there's a lot of background, so the building.
I'm sorry.
That's, no. Yeah, this is
You're gonna learn.
So the building was originally zoned, it used to be owned by Malco Electric. So it was kind of a office space in the front, and sometime when we do a building walkthrough, we can walk over there and I can show you, anytime you're around the summer, whatever, I can take you over there. So there's some office space, there's a big kind of garage space in the space, and there's a second floor that's got some interesting industrial sorts of things. So Malco had it for when the owners retired or whatever, they, I don't know if the company folded or whatever, but They had the building on the market for a while, I think, when the library finally purchased it. There was a different board, I think Carlotta was there, but everyone else was new and under a different director. They, kind of around the same time, they were renovating the main floor and the mezzanine of the library. They looked at the building and they thought, oh, maybe we could use it for, additional meeting room space, programming space, maybe offices, something like that.
So when was that? When was it
So that
purchased?
was in the end of 2014, like fall of 2014. The library purchased it for $250,000. And then we had to bring some taxes up to date, and then we did a few other minor things. So we put like another $42,000 into it. So when we started so it kind of sat there for a while, but, and then nothing was done with it because once they purchased the building, they found out that they had to bring, because it would be a public space, there's different zoning requirements for use of the building. So bringing the sprinkler system up to snuff would have been like $100,000. There was some other handicapped accessible, those kinds of things. So it became cost prohibitive for the library to do anything with that. So it's been sitting there. And then when I came on board, I had said to the board at the time, I said, it's really difficult for me to say, let's put some money aside and sink it into this building when we have so many needs in our current building. And it would be really hard for me to make that recommendation that we don't spend the money here, which is where all of our activity takes place. So we've been trying to sell it since 2016, I think, maybe end of 2016 or early 2017, something like that. So we put it on the market thinking everything was fine. We quickly found out when we had an offer on the building that the village had actually changed the zoning for this area, the kind of whole corridor, to residential, retail, or restaurant. So we had office users that were looking at it because there's a fair amount of office space in there. And so it was really difficult to sell it to anyone for that amount of money. I mean, if anyone was going to buy it for those things, it would have been a tear down. It would be, really cost prohibitive for anyone to do anything with the space. So we had a lot of discussions back and forth with the village about potentially changing the zoning for that area. It really didn't make any sense. There were other businesses up and down Lincoln. And so the village finally, in the last 6 months or so, did do a text amendment to that zoning ordinance, which now does allow office space there. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The special use permit is coming into play here because the building only has about 6 parking spaces on the actual property. And even when Malco owned the building, they did get an annual variance from the village, which allowed them to park 5 or 6 vehicles on the street. So I know that there had been residential unhappiness with that, so I think the village has been more careful with what they allow there. So with the square footage of the building, according to the current Morton Grove code, someone would have to have 20 off-street parking spaces. So clearly, and then it was like, we're already leasing parking spaces from St. Martha's or from the Archdiocese of Chicago, so we don't have 20 extra spaces to give anyone. This buyer that is falling through, he was going to be applying for a special use permit because he was a wealth management firm, and so they saw, maybe 1 or 2 clients throughout the day, they only needed a few parking places, and so, when this was all explained to the village, Ralph Chewinski, the village administrator, said, I don't see that there's any issue with this, but he has to go through the process. So that's where we're at right now, and but it's a tough building to sell because it's so unique and not in a good way, unfortunately, with its office space and kind of warehousey big garage space. So, and then the parking certainly has been problematic. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But we will see what happens. So I did ask Brian if he thought we should lower the price at all, because currently I believe it's listed at $364,900, something like that. And he said no. I mean, right away, he said no.
Well, because we're already getting the same offers from all the new people.
Right, and he said, so like I said, this guy right away said that he was interested in it, and he's already got some showings lined up for next week.
What was the gentleman's offer that just fell through?
$335 was what we had settled initially, but we'll see. So that's where we are at. I will, of course, let you know as soon as I hear anything, either from this buyer or from anyone else that's interested, so that's where we're at.
So the saga continues.
The saga continues. I will tell you, I am going to have a big party in this fundraising.
Yeah.
Champagne for like everyone, but yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Anyway, okay.
All right.
So what do we make off of that? You should explain. to
Yeah,
us
what I would like to do with that money, and I believe that the board is in agreement, is, so when we did renovate the library, we only renovated the main floor and the mezzanine level, and youth services was not touched. And so I would like to take those funds in addition to any monies that we have earned, that we've gotten in special reserves, and use it to do some renovation work on the youth services department. So that's the goal.
And we've paid for the building. The building is paid for.
Building's okay, this is all cash in our pockets,
Yeah,
so,
whatever we sell.
yeah, so whatever we sell it for, that's all ours.
Give it away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's where we're at. My poor youth services department is getting more and more frustrated, but I'm like, I can't do anything else. No, not yet, so,
Change the lighting down there.
Yeah.
Hope they will get you for a while, but.
Yeah, my kids haven't noticed, so.
and you know, it's funny, because I was talking to, I was meeting with Bettina and Karina, you know, today about the logo stuff, and so the subject of the building came up, and I was telling them what had happened, and Bettina actually goes, does Courtney know? Courtney's the head of youth services, and she's been so anxious to have this done. And I said, no, and I said, don't tell her. I said, I will tell her. And she goes, no, I will let you tell her. But, you know, one of the things that we've also talked about over the past few years is, even if we sell the building, say, for $300,000, and we've got about $100,000 right now in special reserves, that really isn't enough to do the entirety of what needs to be done in youth services and some of the things that we want to do. So we already know that some of it will have to be done in stages. So we'll have to, you know, we'll have to see what happens over the next, you know, few weeks and stuff like that. But, you know, we may choose to move forward with some of the things that we know need to be done, such as replacement of shelving. You know, we know that we're going to have similar size space, we're gonna have to, you know, have those shelves in, so, you know, that's something that we could do sooner. We would, you know, I've got enough money to buy new shelves, that kind of thing. So hopefully, hopefully something will happen though, and we can move forward, you know, on a little bit grander scale, but that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so, on a new business, so we have a vacant trustee position.
So I just wanted to check with the board. I was waiting till everyone was officially sworn in and seated on the board. Are you ready for me to post that position?
Yeah.
Like I usually do? Okay. Do you have a deadline that you want me to get? I'm trying to think.
Well, the next meeting, because they're gonna schedule interviews, right?
I'm sorry?
The next meeting, so there's interviews gonna be scheduled for the meeting.
So depending on what the board decides to do at the July meeting, you can also, you know, knowing that Emily will be out of town in July, there may be other weeks in July that she can meet, you can always schedule a special meeting too if you want to do something like
Sorry, I
that.
forgot about
But,
that.
or you can wait till August if that's.
August.
I mean, just looking, you know, I don't think anybody is, you know, gonna have on their radar to apply for the trustee position at the library around like July 4th weekend, so say that's out, so then you have to, I mean, I think at the very least you wanna give people like at least kind of 6 weeks to kind of, don't you, I mean,
Oh, you're right.
don't you, to kind of
So we'll probably get it posted, so I usually put paper packets on the Info East desk, and then we put it online. That probably won't happen till early next week. Just
right.
knowing, you know, what's going on tomorrow and then over the weekend and stuff. So I would say if you want to give people a deadline of July 26th, is that too long? Is that long? July 19th, whatever, I mean. Usually what ends up happening is, you know, and certainly if you know of anyone that's interested, and I know Joanne has indicated that she knows a couple people.
Somebody told me he's got somebody that wants to.
And if they want, then is July 26th okay? I mean, I think that gives enough people, especially if you want to have the interviews as part of
August.
at the August meeting. that gives people
Yeah,
a
'cause
couple
then
weeks
you
to
have
get that
time
on
to
their
put
schedules.
applications in our packets to review before.
I think that's reasonable. Does that sound good to you guys?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so prevailing wage resolution.
So I included in your packet a communication from Ansel Blink. While Ansel Blink is not our attorney, they work, they are the attorneys for a number of libraries and for Rails as well. And so they send out these updates quite frequently. As you can see from that, the posting of the prevailing wage in the paper, on your website, sending it into the Department of Labor, these are all things that were required for us once we pass that resolution, is no longer required. So we don't have to post anything about the prevailing wage anywhere. However, we do still have to pay prevailing wage. So that is part of the law that we don't have to post it, but certainly anyone that we hire, and usually this is for any of the trades, we have to pay prevailing wage, which is typically union wages or any other system like that. So that's just a notification for you guys that we don't have to pass that resolution this year.
So next week. Oh, no, this, okay.
The non-library fee.
Okay.
We do have to pass the non-resident library
Is
fee.
this an annual thing? that we
Yes.
do? Okay.
So, I don't know if you want to make a
I'll make a
resolution.
motion to
Can I? Oh, you have to go
Yeah,
first?
we have to make a
I'm sorry.
motion.
pass the resolution number 2019-2, resolution to adopt a non-resident library fee.
Second?
I just want to know, how many people,
Very few.
okay, that's all I need to know.
One, if we're, because the thing is about Morton Grove is there are no parts of Morton Grove that are not in the, because we're a village library, there's no parts of Morton Grove that are not part of, that don't pay taxes towards the library. So, we may occasionally get someone that, let's say, they might live in one of the unincorporated parts of Niles or something, and so the law actually states that you can receive a library card from the library closest to you. So, so very, very infrequently will this be an issue for us, but we just, we always participate just so that, we're actively doing that. And then the dollar amount is actually figured out what they call the general mathematical formula. And you take the income that the library receives from property taxes, so I don't look at anything else, I just look at the property taxes, and then that's divided by the average household size at the last official census. So that I think is 2.71, so we figured that out. And so that comes to, this year it came to 403.14.
That was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
A big chunk of change.
Well,
If you don't have a library, I get it.
right,
You know.
right. I mean, you don't see it broken out separately on your tax bill, but that's probably similar to what you would be paying towards the library in your taxes. It's
Right,
just- It's
right.
part of your taxes, so, yeah.
So you give it a support.
Vote on the resolution. Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Macy J? Yes. Longo?
We did reciprocal borrow limits already, so now we are at the meeting room policy.
Make a motion to accept the meeting room policy.
So, the meeting room policy, the actual narrative part or text part, whatever, has not changed significantly. I did, we revised the room capacities to more accurately reflect the number of chairs and the actual number of people that can fit in the room. For example, in this room, the previous room capacity was 20, which would make this a really cozy fit with all these chairs. And the Baxter Auditorium, we did change as well. So we indicated how many number of chairs we normally can set up if we have it set up in auditorium style. But then we have more people that can stand, and if we bring in some additional chairs, we can fit more people in there. It can be crowded sometimes. So that part changed. I added a statement regarding excuse me, any groups using the room have to assume full responsibility for paying for any ADA accommodations. This isn't like ramps or those types of things. It's usually like if someone needs like a sign language interpreter, that sort of thing. So if it's a library-sponsored program, by law, if someone says, I need a sign language interpreter, we have to find that person and pay for that. But for an outside group, that would be their responsibility. So I did add that statement. I also added an indemnification statement, which was not something that we had on our policy previous to this. And then I added statements that prohibit the sale, serving, or consumption of alcohol by outside groups. Because after I sell this building, I'm having a party. That's specifically geared towards outside groups because the law did just recently change that should boards approve it for events that you can serve alcohol. So I wanted to make that stipulation clear. So those are the few changes I made to the written part of the policy. On the chart, the meeting room and equipment fee schedule is two-sided. The one that was at your places when you came in is the more recent one, which I added a couple of additional things. So we simplified this process quite a bit because with the new website, we will be allowing outside groups to book online themselves, and there will also be an online payment component. And so the previous fee schedule was a little confusing to administer. Even if we keep everything in paper, it was confusing. Bob spent a lot of time messing around with that. So meeting room use fees, we just applied an hourly fee. It used to be where the first 2 hours were a certain fee, and then every hour after that it was some other with slightly less fee. So we just made some adjustments, and everything is a straight hourly fee for anyone that's not like a tax-supported institution. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to charge the park district, since basically it's taking money out of one pocket of one of residents and putting it in another, that kind of thing. So in schools, similarly. And then on the equipment use fees, again, we changed those just to a flat usage fee. So, we're not going to charge you $25 an hour if you are having a recital, and need the piano, that kind of thing. And then there's a number of things that there's no fee for or are not available in this room.
Why wasn't this under the policy committees?
Because it came after that. So we needed to get it changed. So the policy committee met in April, May? Okay, May. So this wasn't on our radar at that point.
Okay.
And then as we got, yeah.
I know you don't meet every month.
Right, and then we meet quarterly, and then as we got further into the website design process, this came up, and that there's some things that the library market, our website firm, needs kind of sooner rather than later as they start to mock up and work on some things. So
the policy committee is okay with this?
Yes,
as of
I mean,
right
we
now,
haven't met.
Huh?
We haven't met regarding this one. This is
So this is not been pre-approved by us.
this has not been pre-approved by the policy committee.
I did read it and I approved it.
Yeah, for going forward, policies don't have to be reviewed by the policy committee before they come to the full board.
Okay.
It's convenient, especially as we try to keep on schedule of reviewing a batch of policies at a time. But there's always going to be instances where a policy needs to be, if nothing else, reviewed. Either if the law changes, if something happens procedurally, that kind of thing, that we need to make those adjustments. But this one just kind of came in between those two meetings.
Okay,
So.
just wanted to know because it was like.
That was a good question.
Yep.
Can we vote on that one? Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mesa J?
Yes.
Monson?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes.
Okay, so we have, the library closing for, oh, is this for the carpet cleaning?
Yes,
Okay.
so we're.
Okay.
What time do they want to clean the carpet?
So, the village considers, as I mentioned, I think in my director's report, but the village, the village considers carpet cleaning to be, using steam carpet cleaning, you know, the trucks outside, they consider that to be construction noise. I don't know why they don't consider it like they do lawn maintenance, that kind of thing, because those hours are longer. But anything that's considered construction noise, you can only do 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we've had in the past, there was one time we're able to clean the carpets and no one apparently complained, so that was no problem. The last time we tried to do really steam clean the carpets, the police came and they shut us down.
During the day?
No, it was at night. So when Dave was still here, and we usually make arrangements. This is the first place I've been that we've not been able to do the carpets late at night after the library is
Well,
closed.
that's what I don't get. I mean,
So I asked around.
Is it that loud?
Apparently.
I don't think it's that loud. It's, there's a lot of
Any
residential.
different than the ceiling steamer installed?
Well, that's what it is.
Oh.
But they won't
It was
let
loud
us
enough
do
for
that.
someone to call it.
Yes,
Yes.
So I did ask why it's not considered lawn noise, because you can, anything to do with lawn maintenance can go till 10 p.m.
Oh, really?
So that would have at least given us a little bit of time, like we did a Friday night and a Saturday night.
Right.
But no, they consider it construction noise. So the only way that we're able, and we have tried, so that after they shut us down that time, we tried using the crystal, the dry method.
Yeah.
And that was not as effective. It didn't do as good of a job.
And those hours are Monday through Sunday, the
Yeah,
same,
all the
if not
time.
different on the
Yeah,
weekend?
all the time. Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is why I'm asking the board to close on Friday, August 16th. We did, the department heads all looked at programming, summer reading is over by that point. We figured we didn't want to close the following week because then we'd be closed 2 days in a row because Labor Day. I think there was only one adult program we had to, and we were able to reschedule that, so there's no other programming that goes on that day. It wouldn't be like if we closed on Monday, we would close 9 to 9, this way, we're only open till 6. I am having Ed talk to them about if staff can remain in the building, like in non-public spaces if they wanted to do work, that kind of thing. So, because typically we do pay people that would have normally worked for forced closing, I would like to avoid that. So either have people come in and do kind of what they, off-desk things. I mean, I was planning on coming in anyway, I was perpetual trying to clean off my desk. But, and then if people felt like they needed to be off due to, we have some staff members that are very sensitive to scent and noise and that kind of thing. So what I'm leaning towards doing if the board does approve this is that those people would be coming in, or they would have to take either sick or vacation time if they didn't want to be here. So I'm still working that out. But if you walk around the library, you can see there's several areas that definitely do need it. And it's been a couple of years now.
So we're dropping the whole library?
Whole library.
Oh, that's-
Yeah, oh yeah, so they'll come in and they'll do all of the public spaces.
Right,
So,
okay.
yeah, so Baxter Auditorium, all main floor, youth services, mezzanine area, and all the study rooms. And probably up into the computer room too, yeah, so all of the
So
public
it's
spaces.
just a one-day thing?
Yeah, so, but they would probably be here all day, they think only 6 or 7 hours.
And then within the next day, it can.
Yeah, usually
Okay.
they want you to do like 12 hours or so, something like that, so.
Dry overnight.
It should dry,
Yeah.
excuse me, overnight. So the plan would be to only be closed on Friday and then open again regular hours on that Saturday.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the library closing on Friday, August 16th, 2019.
I'll second.
Okay, Swanson,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mesa J,
Yes.
Monson,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Russo.
Great. Next we have committee appointments.
So I just want to keep this on the board's radar. I don't know, you may want to wait until after a new trustee is appointed and make a chance to kind of review the bylaws or and see which committees you may be interested in. And people may want to go on or off the committee that they're currently on, except for Carlotta, she doesn't get to do that.
Am I gonna retire when Blanche?
Oh, no, you're stuck. You're staying on after Blanche. No. So I just, like I said, I just want to make sure that they keep it on the radar, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of think, let me kind of get acclimated a little bit, and, we'll appoint new person as maybe we'll have a facilities walkthrough coming up soon.
That's fine with me.
And the color paper and this lighting is,
It is very bright.
hot. It's like, good morning.
I did, made a few changes. As you can see, I've included the months for everyone. It was very bright. But also, you will note that with the recent election and that we're now back on track with the 2, 2, and 3 for terms. So glad to see that finally. And Blanche, we may need to change this paper color, but you might not have to.
No, it's okay.
I'm always referring to it.
I just think it's a combination of the lighting and this paper. It's
Yeah,
a little
it wasn't as bad in my office, so.
Yeah. All right. So schedule annual walkthrough.
We can wait. If you want to wait till after someone's appointed, it probably makes sense.
I would say so.
Yeah, we don't usually do that, like till September.
We usually do it in September, it just ends up because
Yeah.
usually, I try to get on everyone's radar, and then in the past few years, we've normally closed in August, so probably waiting until September again is fine. But again, just to give everyone a heads up that, because usually it does take,
And it's only here,
Take a while.
still he's doing all the stuff.
pardon?
He's adjusting the wall for them.
Oh, yeah, the new maintenance.
They're gonna tour this year.
Yeah,
Tour guide.
so we'll see.
Yeah.
He's, it's interesting because I used to meet with Dave, so kind of figure out Dave liked to chat a lot. So Ed is really boom, 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 comes in and does what needs to be done, and really it's been great so far. So fits in great with the staff. So he was painting the tea room today. So.
He's painted, he is.
Yeah, he painted it because the walls were all chipped and stuff, and we're actually going to get a gaming TV to put up there. So we wanted to paint the walls first, and yeah, so it'll be awesome. Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to the July board meeting. Again, Pam, please let us know your preference. At this point, we can look at either the following Thursday, July 18th, if we want to have a meeting in July, or we can consider canceling the July board meeting.
And keeping the August.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
So you'd meet 12 times this year. If you reschedule in July, I would recommend keeping the August as well.
Right. I think, as long as Pam would be comfortable, we've been fine canceling the August board meeting. I don't think it's,
So, it's less important for myself and for Blanche because of the way that we process the invoices and stuff like that with Carlotta coming in and reviewing them, weekly and then paying the bills. So some of that is not time, we don't have to deal with it because we're already dealing with those things in a timely manner. On the face of it, I can't think of anything. The only thing that may come up relatively quickly, and we would maybe want to schedule a special board meeting for this anyway, would be if anything happens with the building.
right.
Fingers crossed, right, then, we would want to do something like that. But, if you're only going to be gone a week or two, that's something we could certainly work around.
Yeah.
So it's really up to the board. I don't have any strong feelings either way.
I don't care, I can say.
Yeah, I
could be here the 18th. I could be the 18th, that doesn't make sense.
Or we could cancel July and then just meet in August.
So if we do the 18th.
The only trouble with canceling July is you're getting a new board member and their deadline is the 26th.
don't we kind of like want to know if
We can
anybody's
be
even-
reviewing them. The 18th works for me. July 18th, does it work for everyone else? So, are you okay with that?
That's fine with me, as long as that,
Oh,
sorry,
we're gonna
everybody.
Amend the finance.
That's fine.
Does that make a difference?
No, that doesn't make a difference. So I just have to post it ahead of time,
Okay,
that's all.
okay,
So
that's
I'll
what I
take care of
wanted
all
to know.
that,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So, and really, if we're only changing the date of one meeting, we just have to, I mean, this, it just has to be posted on the agenda. So, but we'll post it on the website.
Oh, okay.
anyway, So, that will be fine.
And the 18th, the finance will stick for me anyway, right? You should tell them finance.
The finance will be the same as we usually do, it'll just be before this board meeting.
Yeah, it'll be on the 18th.
Unless you guys want to come in to have a
No.
finance meeting.
No, I think
Stop.
no, I think we're okay with that.
All right, well, thanks for the flexibility, everybody. I appreciate that. All right, communications, I didn't see any.
No, the only thing was the letter from CCS, which we had already talked about, so that is it.
Public comments, non-agenda items, there is still no public. No need to vote.
I did get a comment from a neighbor who called, I mentioned to you, who had attended the special screening and beautiful music that was provided.
Oh, the front porch concert.
Oh, the front
from
porch
summer
concert, yeah,
program kicked off.
Yeah, very impressed with how well it was organized, how much fun it was, loved the free ice cream and popcorn. And
I was on
and how
popcorn duty all
everybody
night.
got along, so they said, make sure you pass along.
I will definitely do
nice.
that.
You like hearing that.
Yeah.
It was really successful, we figured, it's hard to count sometimes because everyone's going around and doing different things, there's kids running around all over the place. And I made popcorn for 2 hours. I'm an old pro. I was teasing someone, I said, it's my retirement plan to join the carnival and do popcorn. Yeah, we figured there was about 200 people there. So, yeah, it was really nice. And the weather, we totally lucked out with the weather, so it was nice. But I will definitely pass it on.
Nice. Did we,
So, also in your packets, you have an Open Meetings Act, elected and appointed members sheet. That is the information. I know that everyone else has done this, but I was rereading this again, and I believe that anyone who has been elected needs to do the Open Meetings Act training again.
Again?
So, yeah. Yeah, so Mick, there's an online thing, so this is required for appointed and elected members, where there's an online Open Meetings Act kind of training and quiz.
Oh, so this is just online, we don't have to go to?
No, you just go here, and then you have to create an account, I think, and then, yeah, we'll just walk you through. So it usually takes about an hour or so, and then at the end, you can print a certificate, so those of you that take it, that just got reelected or elected, just print out that certificate and either email it to me or give it to me at the next board meeting. We keep a folder of those, so. Right. So yeah, so that, I just included that for, at first I was gonna give it to Mick, and then I was reading, and I think that everyone has to do it each time, so.
Each time.
Once every, yeah. each
But
time.
then in those 4 years, I have to do it again.
Exactly, so. Because I'm the official Open Meetings Act officer, as well as the FOIA officer. So, yeah, I have to do it annually.
all right, no need to go to executive session.
Nope.
All right, anything else? So we are adjourned at 8:24. Oh, Dr. Callen is not here, which is most